Tuesday, Wall Street. I looked past the glass towers to the old stones, pillars for titans, doors for giants. History says men on horseback built these temples to store cash, but standing in their shadow I knew, you don't build a machine this beautiful just to count paper. These weren't banks, the owners are squatters. It's the greatest heist in history. The Tartarian energy grid was hijacked, repurposed, and sold back to us as debt. My journey began with a simple question regarding logistics. I studied the construction claims of the Bank of England, the US custom houses, and the various First National banks scattered across the American Midwest. The narrative is identical in every city. A grand Greco-Roman fortress appears suddenly in the historical record, often attributed to a single architect who has no previous portfolio of such magnitude. In the mid-19th century, the technology to cut granite with laser precision did not exist in the public sector. Not at all. To quarry stone of this hardness, one requires diamond-tipped saws and high-velocity water jets. The fact is that the tools of the 1800s consisted of iron chisels and black powder. Black powder blasts stone. It does not slice it into perfect acoustic blocks. I examined the joinery of the Philadelphia Mint. The stones fit together without mortar, so tightly that a sheet of paper cannot pass between them. This is not masonry, this is machine-tooled manufacturing. Yet, we possess no photographs of the machines. We see construction photos of the scaffolding, yes, but never the actual placement of the 10-ton blocks. The photos show men standing around completed structures, holding hammers, posing for a credit they did not earn. These buildings function as resonance chambers. The high-vaulted ceilings, the domes, the specific use of quartz-heavy granite and sandstone, these are the components of an etheric harvesting system. And the dome, it captures the atmospheric charge. The columns conduct it down. The water tables, often located directly beneath these banks, act as the grounding mechanism. The Rothschilds found these structures standing empty after the catastrophe known as the Mud Flood. They did not need to be architects, they only needed to be landlords. To understand the theft, I tracked the movement of Mayor Amschel Rothschild and his 5 sons. The official history paints them as savvy merchants who established banking houses in Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. I posit a different timeline. The early 1800s represented a period of post-cataclysmic recovery. The population was low, history was fragmented, and the massive infrastructure of the old world lay dormant. The Red Shield moved into the power vacuums of Europe's capital cities. They secured the deeds to the largest, most imposing structures. By occupying the temples, they usurped the authority of the gods. A population traumatized by a reset event looks for leadership. When a family occupies the granite fortress in the center of town, the survivors assume that the family holds the power. The Rothschild genius lay in repurposing. They took the current, the electromagnetic flow of the grid, and replaced it with currency. This was not merely a play on words. It was the transmutation of physics into finance. In the Tartarian system, the buildings provided free energy to the surrounding city. The bank was a battery. The energy was the currency. By shutting off the atmospheric collectors, which removes the antennas and replaces them with flagpoles or crosses, the Rothschilds created artificial scarcity. They then issued paper notes representing the value that the buildings used to provide for free. From my inquiry about the foundations of these banking institutions, I discovered something. In London, Paris, and downtown Chicago, the evidence of the soil liquefaction event is undeniable. We call them basements, but architectural logic dictates otherwise. I walked the perimeter of the Bank of England. The lower windows are half buried in the pavement. We are told these are light wells. No architect designs a window to look into a dirt wall. These were originally ground floor windows. The street level rose by 10 to 15 feet during the mud inundation. The new owners did not excavate the cities. They simply paved over the mud and declared the second floor to be the new entrance. This explains the grand staircases leading up to the doors of almost every major 19th century bank. The stairs were a necessary retrofit to reach the new street level. The Rothschild syndicate seized these properties when they were literally buried. Their wealth did not come from banking initially. It came from salvage rights. They claimed the capital of an entire civilization, and this discovery explains it further. From what I gathered after I gained access to the archives of several historical societies, I confirmed that the interiors we see today are modifications. The teller cages are a critical point of analysis. These iron bars and gated vaults were installed after the fact. The original layouts show open, vast halls designed for vibration and sound frequency. The acoustics in a building like the old Union Trust in New York are perfect. If you whisper in one corner, the sound carries to the center. This acoustic perfection served a function for healing or energy transmission. The Rothschild conversion involved dampening this resonance. They filled the halls with heavy carpets, velvet curtains, and wooden partitions. They installed the vaults in the center, often using the existing conductive chambers as storage for gold. The transition from an energy grid to a gold storage facility marked the enslavement of the populace. Gold is heavy, rare, and easily controlled. Etheric energy is omnipresent. By tethering the economy to gold, and later to debt, they ensured that the population would never look up at the spires and remember their true purpose. My investigation led me to the strange correlation between major banking crises and the destruction of specific cities. The narrative of the Civil War, the Napoleonic Wars, and the World Wars covers up a systematic demolition project. I scrutinized the photographs of the ruins of Richmond, Virginia, and Dresden, Germany. The destruction is absolute. Stone buildings are turned to dust. This was not the result of cannonballs or incendiary bombs available at the time. This was high-energy dismantling. The targets were selective. The star forts and the most advanced Tartarian municipal centers were leveled. The Rothschild-funded armies on both sides of these conflicts were not fighting for territory. Like demolition crews, they were fighting to erase the competition. Every time a city was flattened, the loans for rebuilding came from the Rothschild banks. They created the destruction, then sold the debt to fix it. But the rebuilding was never in the original style. The majestic stone masonry was replaced with brick and mortar, inferior materials for an inferior age. The banks themselves, however, were rarely destroyed. They remained standing amidst the rubble, the command centers of the new regime. I analyzed the great fires of the 19th century, Chicago, Boston, Seattle, and Toronto. The official explanations, a cow kicking a lantern, a glue factory explosion, are absurdities. Stone and brick cities do not burn to the ground. Yet, the photos show pulverized granite and melted steel. These events were directed energy attacks to clear out the remaining old-world infrastructure that the banking families could not repurpose. More importantly, these fires destroyed the Hall of Records in almost every instance. Birth certificates, property deeds, and historical archives turned to ash. This was the administrative reset. Without records, the population had no claim to the land or the buildings. The banks stepped in with new deeds, new titles, and new terms. The straw man, legal fiction began here. The Rothschild agents created a system where the living man was separated from his corporate identity. The citizen became a debt slave to the state, and the state was indebted to the central bank. I turned my attention to the legal framework protecting these banks. It is Maritime Admiralty law, the law of the water and sea. This connects directly to the maritime nature of the catastrophe. The flood brought the water, the banks brought the law of the water. Consider the word currency, which is quite literally the current of the water directing the flow of energy. We speak of liquid assets to describe the continuous motion of value, while a deposit is nothing more than the silt settling on the riverbed. The institution is called a bank because it acts as the riverbank, the rigid structure that controls and confines the direction of the water. Finally, when the system wants to stop you, your assets become frozen, locked in place like ice that is no longer free to move. This etymology is not accidental. It is a declaration of conquest. The Rothschild system treats humanity as cargo or stock in a maritime venture. When you enter a court, you stand in the dock. The judge acts as the captain. The banks are the ports of call. By imposing maritime law on the land, they legally trap the population in a jurisdiction that does not apply to free living men. They essentially declared that we are all lost at sea, and they possess the salvage rights to our labour. The investigation inevitably leads to 1912 and 1913. This was the consolidation of the coup. The concept of a central bank in America met resistance from the old industrial titans, John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. These men possessed wealth that rivaled the banking families, but their wealth was tangible: real estate, industry, resources. They opposed the fiat currency system that the Rothschilds and Rockefellers intended to implement via the Federal Reserve. I studied the passenger list of the RMS Titanic. The specific targeting of these three men is statistically impossible to dismiss as a coincidence. J.P. Morgan, a Rothschild agent and the owner of the White Star Line, funded the construction of the ship. He was scheduled to be on the maiden voyage. He cancelled at the last minute, claiming illness, yet was seen perfectly healthy in France days later. The sinking of the Titanic was an assassination operation carried out on the high seas, Admiralty jurisdiction. The captain, Edward Smith, was a Jesuit tempter who sailed the ship directly into the ice field at full speed. With the opposition eliminated in the North Atlantic, the path was cleared. In December 1913, while Congress was largely absent for the holidays, the Federal Reserve Act was passed. The takeover of the American node of the global grid was official. The Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express. It is a private corporation acting as the collection agency for the foreign banking cartel. Many truth seekers fetishize the gold standard, believing it to be the solution. My research indicates this is a secondary trap. In the Tartarian era, gold served a conductive purpose. It was used in the circuitry of the buildings, on the domes, and in the plating of the Antiquitech. It was a utility, not a hoard. The Rothschilds confiscated the gold to remove it from the grid. By locking the gold in the basements of these repurposed power stations, they deactivated the machine. They then convinced the world that gold was money. This was the bridge. They moved the population from energy to gold to paper to digital. Each step further removed us from the source. The gold standard was merely the training wheels for the debt slave system. It trained humanity to believe that value comes from a heavy metal owned by the elites, rather than the abundant energy provided by the earth and the ether. I examined the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s, Chicago, St. Louis, San Francisco. These were not fairs, they were indoctrination camps and demolition parties. The White City of Chicago featured massive, neoclassical buildings illuminated by Tesla's alternating current. We are told these were built of staff, plaster, and hemp, and erected in months. This is a fabrication. The sheer scale and hydraulic engineering required for the lagoons and fountains defy temporary construction methods. These were the last operational Tartarian cities. The elites invited the public in to marvel at the technology, elevators, moving sidewalks, electric light, and then burned them down or demolished them when the fair ended. This served a dual purpose. It showed the population what was possible, then traumatized them by destroying it, creating a subconscious dependence on the benevolent industrialists who promised to bring the technology back, for a price. Walk into a modern bank today. The architecture has changed, but the energetic imprint remains. The old downtown branches still occupy the granite temples. The tellers still sit behind glass barriers. I tracked the ownership of the major central banks: the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank. They ultimately trace back to the same intermarried bloodlines that emerged from the Frankfurt ghetto in the 18th century. They do not create value, they meter it. The interest they charge is the fee for our existence in their system. In the old world, the current flowed freely. In the Rothschild world, The current is metered, taxed, and used to generate debt. They fear the awakening of the human mind because our consciousness acts as the software for the reality grid. If we realized that the buildings are machines, and the machines are turned off, we would stop paying the electric bill. We would stop paying the mortgage. The final piece of evidence lies in the physical sensation of the truth. When I stand inside the Pantheon in Rome, or the Jefferson Memorial, or the old Pennsylvania station, I feel a vibration in the sternum. It is a biological recognition of a lost function. These structures are waiting. The copper is still in the domes, often painted over or oxidized. The water still runs in the underground aquifers. The quartz granite is still piezoelectric. The Rothschild Banking System is a glamorous overlay, a paper-thin facade draped over a diamond. They control the ledger, but they don't control the source. The investigation concludes with a singular realization. The debt is fictitious because the money is fictitious. The only real things are the stone, the water, and the electromagnetic field. The squatters have held the keys for 200 years, pretending to be the builders. But the lease is up. We are looking at the stone again. We are asking about the mud. We are tracing the bloodlines. The bank was never a place to store money. It was a place to charge the soul, and they know that we are beginning to remember how to turn the switch back on.